Okay, I haven't made a video in a while, but uh, we just come back to the Philippines and posted a couple comments on a couple of other travel update videos. So one person requested that I go ahead and make this video. Basically, I'm just going to give you my experience or our experience coming uh, through Cebu, landing in Cebu as an unvaccinated foreign tourist. I'm married to a Filipina, so my situation may be a little different than yours if you are coming just as a single tourist. However, 95% of this will apply to regular foreign tourists. I am an American. It may be a little different if you don't have visa upon arrival privileges, and I will try to point out some aspects where the Balik Mayan visa or privilege that you will get if you are married is different than just being a foreign tourist. So let me go ahead and get into the particulars of our case. We flew out of SFO, that's San Francisco International Airport. We booked with Eva. Well, let me backtrace here. We booked using points through United's app. We flew Eva Air, EVA, through Taipei, Taiwan was our connect. And our first port of entry into the Philippines was Cebu. It was a single ticket, two tickets, but single booking. So we didn't book to Taiwan and then from Taiwan to here. It was all on one booking. And the reason that's important, your PCR or your antigen test, which you will have to take being unvaccinated. The PCR test is 72 hours, I believe, no, 48 hours, 48 or 72. I didn't do that one. One, it was more expensive. The other, I just felt better doing the antigen test. I've heard some issues with the PCR being really sensitive, so I thought the antigen test was a better option, less invasive and cheaper. So we went with the antigen test. That test, you can take it within 24 hours of your departure. So our departure was from San Francisco at 1 a.m. So I could take it within 1 a.m. on Monday morning. Was that September 19th, I believe. So technically I could take it 1 a.m. or 1:01 a.m. on Sunday, the 18th. But of course, you can't find some place open that time. So we took it Sunday morning, reserved. We went ahead and just did a reservation for an appointment to make sure we could get in and get tested. There was some issues with that, but the person who was looking for parking, and if you've been around San Francisco downtown area, it took them about an hour to find parking. So we were about an hour later than intended, but it was no problem. We got that early in the morning. Our flight was 1 a.m., so we had plenty of time. After we did the swabs, we gave all of our information, gave our emails. The results were emailed within an hour, I would say, and both results, mine and my wife's, were negative. I will, at this point, say I took multiple screenshots of that. I get through an email, and then they had their own web portal that you had to log in. So I took multiple screenshots. Due to how it was formatted, it actually showed the results on 2 pages. I printed out these pages, but due to how it was formatted, you could have very easily took my results and given them to my wife on page 2. So when I got to the airport, that the ticketing attendant questioned if my results were legitimate, and he asked to go ahead and see it on my phone. So that's why I would recommend to print it out, but I would recommend that you keep any and all documentation. So I would screenshot everything, and I would save the original emails. You basically just want to keep everything at this point. So the process, basically, I'll try to, working off of memory, was as follows. You need to have your quarantine hotel booked. There was conflicting information about that as to whether you needed 5 days or 6 days or 7 days. There, like I said, conflicting information. I believe the older information said 7 days was a requirement. Now it seems they're requiring 5. However, they're gonna test you on the 5th day, and you're not gonna get to leave quarantine, which we're sitting in the quarantine hotel right now, until those results are in. So to me, 6 days would be the minimum. So I went ahead and booked for 7. I just wanted to cover all bases. I didn't want to give them any reason to say, oh no, it's not 5 days, you needed to have your hotel booked for 7. I didn't want to give any reason. It's not worth the extra. This hotel, I think we're paying for the 2 of us, less than $50, 40 something dollars a night, with 3 meals, Filipino size meals. So they do allow you, on this one, they allow you to order outside food through Grab, or the hotel attendant said she has Grab, and if we needed to order, if we didn't have it, she could order for us and we'd just pay her. I'll just go ahead and give a plug for them. This is Hotel Dulcinea, I believe, close as I can pronounce the name. It is in Lapu-Lapu. It's pretty close to the airport. There's a mall right across. Of course, you can't get out and go to that. It's a good hotel. It's a budget hotel. There's no real frills to it. It has hot water. One thing I heard, another vlogger said that he had a hotel with a terrace, with a balcony. That would be kind of nice, because you're stuck, you can't leave the room, but you could step out on the balcony. This is just a basic, I believe it's a queen size, maybe king size bed. Does have a bathtub, but it's adequate. It's good for what it is. We didn't really want to spend a lot of money on quarantine, so we want to save our money for the rest of our vacation. We're here visiting family. We're going to be here approximately 30 days. So we want to use that time and money for things other than quarantine. And this meets our needs. So back on track, you'll need to book your hotel or quarantine hotel. There is a approved list. If you go to the Mactan Cebu International Airport official website, you can scroll down and you will find a link to the Bureau of Quarantine, I believe it is, official list of quarantine hotels for Cebu. Some of those are on Mactan, some of them are in Cebu. You just need to check with whatever hotel and see the particulars. Some provide, when the pandemic began, I also did a similar thing before vaccines were a thing. When my wife was going through the visa process, I came as soon as it opened up enough I could get here. And at that time, pretty much everyone provided meals. It's a bit different now. There's more selection of hotels, but you need to really look into what they offer. Some offer your meals with it. Some you can order room service. Some allow you to do Grab. Some do not. We were going to go with Harold's. We stayed with Harold's before. I like the hotel. It's a nice hotel. The suite is more roomy, more updated, and more westernized. But like I said, we're trying to save our money for being out and about. So point on that is check that your hotel is an approved quarantine hotel. Contact the hotel. I will say another thing about that. Their list and their email on most of the hotels, or several of the hotels I tried to contact through that email list, the emails are incorrect. So you may have to check the name, double check your address, go to the website, make sure it is the corresponding hotel, and somehow contact them directly. I don't know if the email list on the Bureau of Quarantine list is out of date, or why half of those hotels' emails either sent back telling me that was not a valid email, or they blocked the response, which I think was still a matter of invalid email addresses. So do your research. That you should probably set up probably one of the first things. Once you decide your dates, when you're flying here, your date of arrival, you need to have it for, like I said, conflicting 5 to 7 days from arrival. So look at your arrival date, contact your hotel, get all your ducks in a row on that. Whatever you want, there's a budget for about anything. You can go from very budget friendly, even cheaper than this. But I don't know anything about those hotels. I've stayed here before and I was happy. Or you can go up to, there's resorts. You could stay at one of the resorts here on Lapu-Lapu. I don't think you would get much out of the resort since you can't go out of your room. Or at least you're not supposed to go out of your room. I have heard some hotels are more lax, some are following the protocol. This hotel, we don't even have a key. They bring our food, we get the food, we put the tray back out there, and so you pretty much aren't leaving your room here. So do your own research there if you're looking for something else. Quarantine hotel would be probably first or second thing that needs done. You may book your flight before that, just so you're sure of your dates. But one or the other. Either book the flight and then do the quarantine hotel, or make sure you can get these dates, and either order I think would be fine. On flights, I've heard a lot of advice that you should check with the airline prior to booking your flight as to whether they will accept, and they are aware that Cebu will accept unvaccinated foreign passengers, provided you follow all the rest of the protocols. I didn't check with EVA. One, at the time I booked our flights, I was going on some older information, believing that since I was balikbayan, being that I'm married to a Filipina and she's traveling with me, at that time, at the time I booked our flights, I believed that I was exempt from the requirement of vaccination overall. I believed I was falling under the Filipino or Balikbayan, which towards the beginning of the pandemic, right after they come up with the protocol, they were treating foreign nationals different than Filipino citizens, but they were treating foreign spouses pretty similar to Filipino citizens, provided you could prove you were married to a Filipino, whoever you're married to, provided the marriage was valid in the Philippines. So that's the reason I didn't check. Once I had already had those tickets booked, I just decided to leave it in God's hands and pray about it and, hope for the best. But based on the information I had, I thought we had a good shot at it. And I went ahead and got some other documents to try to just have some proof that Cebu would accept us. Some of those documents that I got was the executive order signed by the governor of Cebu, executive order number 15, series of 2022. So it was there. Evidently they reused those, but make sure it's the most recent executive order number 15, and by Governor Gwin, I'm not sure, the governor of Cebu, not the local mayors, because each different area, Cebu City is not Cebu Province. When you fly into Lapu-Lapu, you are flying into not Cebu City, but Cebu Province. So that's what is pertinent. So I printed out that document. I couldn't find it through an official, like a office of the governor. I don't know what their official website is, but what I found it through was a Twitter post by one of the news agencies, Filipino news agencies. So I screenshotted 3 pages. Basically, it covers the protocol for vaccinated individuals, or vaccinated, I don't remember how I put it, but vaccinated foreign tourists or foreign nationals, vaccinated Filipino citizens or Balikbayans, and then the final, it just lumped everyone together with unvaccinated or individuals whose vaccination status could not be proven. So there was 3 main sections in that. That's why I wound up being 3 pages. I printed those off just to have some proof if there was any issue at boarding. I wound up not even needing those. I never presented them to the ticketing agent or anyone else because they never asked for them. I just wanted to have them in case it was an issue. So I know that's kind of a side note, but there are some other documents that are nice to have. Basically, anything you can think of that will help your case, I would have, but I would not overwhelm the ticketing agent with all of your proof. Just go with the flow. See how they react, and then respond with the information they request. So the next documents that you will need is your negative COVID test. Like I said, there are 2 COVID tests. There is the PCR, and I don't know the full, but it's the further, more invasive swab test they go deep. That one is valid for, it's either 48 or 72 hours, which means you can get it 2 or 3 days in advance of your departure date, and it will be valid. Check those dates are always changing, the protocol's always changing. So whatever it is, this is just for what I went through. And this was in September. We flew out September 19th, arrived September 20th of 2022. So if you're past September, you probably ought to check what the current protocol is. Hopefully by the time you're reading this or listening to this, they've already done away with all these protocols, and it's back to at least not a new normal, but a old normal. That's what I'm looking forward to and hoping for. I think most of these restrictions other countries are doing away with. So hopefully as they see these other countries, Thailand, several other Southeast Asian countries, even Western countries, get rid of these type restrictions, hopefully the Philippines will follow suit, realizing that it's not necessary at this point. But you will, at this point, you do need a negative test, meaning you need to have results showing within however many hours your particular test was valid for, it was negative at that time. I would, like I said, print that. I would screenshot that. You need to have that. And we went with the antigen test. It's cheaper. It's only valid for 24 hours, but that's plenty of time to get it done. The results generally are quicker, whereas the COVID test, you would have to request it expedited to get it within a few hours. Generally, the COVID test, the PCR is a 24-hour turnaround on a lot of them. So we went with the antigen test. You need that. The other thing you will need is, as of right now, they're still doing the One Health Pass. One Health Pass is basically an electronic health declaration. And it's gonna ask you questions like, are you vaccinated? I answered all questions truthfully. It does say down at the bottom that failure to upload a vaccination card, proof, whatever, could delay your process, but I didn't have a vaccination card or proof to upload, so it couldn't delay it any more than what it was going to be delayed. If you are boosted and all that, they give you a QR code. The QR code means you don't need the PCR test, you don't need any of that, and you will be kind of expedited in that process. And also it means you don't need to go through quarantine. But I didn't have any of that. So I didn't need the PCR, or I did need the COVID test, and I need to follow the quarantine procedures. So you got that, you got the One Health Pass. Of course, you're gonna need your boarding passes. And I believe, I can't remember at what point, but I would already, like I said, boarding pass is either step 1 or step 2, depending on which order you want to do it in. You should already have that by the time you do your One Health Pass. Your One Health Pass, that registration can be completed no greater, in other words, no sooner than 3 days before. 3 days are basically 72 hours, because it's very down to it, I believe, but 3 days before your boarding. So now it can be completed closer to your boarding time, all the way up to, I guess, right before you're ticketed, because you're going to need it in the ticketing process, in the check-in process. but I would do it as soon as possible, but you can't do it a week ahead. You're gonna have to wait till the last 3 days. You're gonna do your One Health Pass. Now, I waited until I had my COVID results because I had heard some previous information that you would have to upload your COVID results. At this time, there is no place, at least for an unvaccinated person, to upload their COVID results, and no reason to. It doesn't affect it. Just make sure you have your COVID results, COVID test results. You don't have to upload them to One Health Pass. You don't have a vaccination. If you're unvaccinated, you don't have a vaccination card or proof, so you don't have to upload that. You're gonna answer, no, I don't have a vaccine, or I'm not, that you are unvaccinated. So basically, others have said, you can go ahead and do your One Health Pass prior to doing your COVID test. I didn't do it that way because previous information said you needed to upload. So I waited, and I probably would wait this time. The registration process is pretty easy. You do need to register for each person flying. In my case, that was myself and my wife. These are separate registrations. You need to put your names as they appear, I believe as they appear on your IDs. You need to put your vaccination status. You need to put whatever questions, answer all questions truthfully. I went ahead for her. She was what they call ROF, returning overseas Filipina or Filipino. Basically, there's multiple categories. There is OFWs, that's someone working overseas, or a Filipino working overseas Filipino workers. There is ROFs, that's a Filipino that is overseas and just returning, but they're not a worker. So that would go for most spouses. Then you have foreign nationals. Of course, I'm not a Filipino. I am a foreign national. So I answered that I am a foreign national, and I answered that I am unvaccinated. So I was following the protocols set forth by Governor Gwin of Cebu Province to enter into Cebu Province. This is going to be valid for Cebu MAC-10 International Airport. It will not be valid for Manila. So if you're flying as an unvaccinated tourist right now, or unvaccinated foreign national in any way, I would highly recommend going through Cebu. Would you get through in any others? Maybe, but it's highly unlikely. The national policy seems to be to reject foreign nationals, but this is kind of like a state, or for the US, we know how different states implement things slightly different. Here they're called province. So the province of Cebu has interpreted the rulings one way, other places interpret it another way. So that's what we have right now. So we did that process. Like I said, I had one thing as Balik Bayan, I need to have proof that I'm married to my wife. Traveling with her and the same last name is not enough proof. So you need to have a marriage certificate. This is going to go for anyone going through that route. If you're not coming under the Balik Bayan privilege, one other additional thing most tourists will need is, they call it a return ticket, but basically it's an onward ticket. A ticket that you are leaving the Philippines within whatever amount of time your visa allows, if you got a previous visa, or if you are visa upon arrival. For most places, for America, that's 29 days. So you would have to have an onward ticket. You don't have to have a return ticket if you're not planning to return within that amount of time. But you do have to have an onward ticket. That can be any ticket showing that you are leaving out of the Philippines going to another country. So you can buy a cheap ticket going to any nearby Southeast Asian country. There's some throwaway ticket services, this or that. I don't know anything about it. I've never done it that way. I've always either had a return ticket, or I bought a cheap ticket going to, wherever, Cambodia or whatever you find the cheapest ticket, leaving here within that 29 days. So if you're not coming as balik bayan, that's one other thing you should have, is a onward ticket. I didn't need the onward ticket, but I did need the proof that I really was married to a Filipina, and she had to be traveling with me. As far as I understand, the balik bayan privilege only applies if you're traveling with your spouse, your relative who is Filipino. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. We had all our documentation. We arrived extremely early to SFO. Our flight, like I said, wasn't till 1 a.m. Monday morning. So I'd call that Sunday morning, but it technically was Monday. We had to Uber there because we just left our vehicle in the care of one of my coworkers. And he was out of town. So we Ubered there. So we Ubered way early. I wanted to get there. I wanted to be there when the gates open, when the ticketing gate opened, because I wanted to get up there. I wanted to get in line before the line was huge. It will be long if you've ever been in if you know how the Philippines lines up, everybody's gonna be early and everybody's gonna line up. Well, it's gonna be a bunch of Filipinos traveling back to the Philippines, so you better line up early if you wanna be in the front of the line. We weren't in the front of the line. So anyways, we got there early, went over our documents several times. I organized them in a folder of things that we would need, some for me, some for her. Things that I might need, I put towards the back. Things that I would definitely need, I put toward the front. Tried to organize everything on my phone, screenshots, to where these were the screenshots I would need, and have them accessible. Passports, all of that good stuff. All the usual travel documents that you normally need, you still need. Your boarding pass, your travel, your passports. If your relative who is Filipino is coming with you, if they have a green card, make sure you bring the green card, all of that stuff. So we got there, we got up to the ticketing agent. I just kind of let him ask for what he needed, because I didn't want to overwhelm him with my packet of, I don't know, probably 20, 30 papers. I gave him our passports. We already had our reservation, the whole thing, check in, how many bags. He started the process. He asked for our vaccination proof, and I told him we were not vaccinated. He did kind of pause at that point and kind of re-ask, and I told him we were not vaccinated. We were traveling. I'm traveling as a balik bayan. She's a Filipina, and we intend to do the quarantine upon arrival. We have our quarantine hotel booked. I have the receipts and confirmation codes, everything. Told him all of that. Initially, he said, "Well, you still need, I forget how he put it, but basically he was saying I was missing a document, and he said we needed a vaccine." And I told him, well, I forget how exactly the conversation went, but basically, come to find out, he was aware that we didn't need the vaccine. What he meant, or what he wound up saying, is we need the COVID test results. And then I realized I forgot to mention we had our COVID test results. So I gave him the COVID test results. I initially gave him the printed out version. And like I said, because it was on 2 pages and it put our names on the first page and the results on the second page, it could have very well been fabricated. So there was no way for him to know, except for he said, "Well, I don't really, do you have it on your phone?" So I showed him on my phone. It was one document, and he was satisfied with that. He looked over, of course he scanned the One House Pass, did all of our passport stuff, and looked at once he's seen that we had the COVID test results and they were negative, and they were, he did look at those pretty diligently. After he's seen we're all good, we checked all the marks for quarantine, and we had our quarantine hotel. He went ahead and printed out our boarding pass. After that, things got a lot smoother. We went through security, no problem. We were never really asked for anything else after that until we arrived in Cebu. Just normal flying, like normal, except for you had to wear a mask. But flying with EVA, or I don't know whether you should call it EVA or EVA, some of them, I don't know. But flying with them, I flew that route before. That's part of why I picked it. I like flying through Taipei. They're efficient, and it was a good flight. We arrived in Taipei, connect, no problem. Was not asked for any more documentation at that point. I will say that we didn't. Our layover was about 2 hours. We did not exit the airport. You don't want to exit the airport. One, you would be going into another country. You would have to go through immigration, and that would probably be, you would probably at that point need another COVID test result. So I would avoid exiting the airport. I would have my all one airline, so I wouldn't try to do any self-transfers. Some people have run onto issues there. And then no problem, we got to Cebu. If you've been through Cebu, I much prefer Cebu over Manila. One, we're coming to Cebu anyways, because this region is where her family's from, not Cebu itself, but nearby. So we would rather fly into Cebu. But the other issue I have is I flew through Manila before. One, if you're flying into Manila and then to Cebu, you got to go through immigration. You got to recheck your bags, all of that stuff. So I prefer Cebu even in normal times. At this time, that is the only pretty sure option for unvaccinated foreign nationals. So that's not even a question of where you're going to fly into. You're going to fly into MAC 10 Cebu. After that, you get in the immigration, fill out all your documents. You've got your declaration card and your arrival card, normal airline stuff. Fill those out ahead of time, best of your knowledge. answer everything truthfully, and then present your documents as requested. One extra step, or there will be multiple extra steps compared to normal. Before you even get to immigration, you will go through DOH, the Bureau of Quarantine, Department of Health. They're the ones implementing this. They will want your One Health Pass. You'll have that, have it on your phone, have it printed. I would have it both ways, whichever one they want. They're gonna scan that. It's not gonna be a QR code, it's gonna be a barcode. QR codes for the fully vaccinated, fast-tracked, whatever. Once they do that, they're gonna go through their process. They have their own, there was no problem there once they, he did ask, what, are you vaccinated? What's all of that? We explained it. It seems they are, it didn't catch them by surprise for unvaccinated foreign nationals. So I would say they're dealing with at least some coming through. They have their protocol to follow their protocol. The guy that helped us was very helpful. Not only did he help us through that portion, he directed us to, I guess because of being Balik Bayan, I wound up in a different lane. Just let them kind of direct you there. You will need to go with your wife, because you need to, if you're Balik Bayan, you need to go with your wife. Otherwise, you're gonna go the normal foreign passports. They put us in diplomat, but I guess that was the lane they were using. He said they were short-staffed, but for us, it went very quickly. Actually, even quicker than the other passengers. So after you do that, I would suggest to have some cash. Well, not suggest, you need to have cash. You're gonna have to convert some cash, or if you have Philippine pesos, if from your last trip you still have 1,000 pesos, that's good. You're gonna have to do a swab upon arrival. That is cheaper than it used to be. I think I paid like $4K on the first trip back before the vaccines come up, and before, when they were first starting this swab upon arrival. So the price has come down. It's now 800 pesos per person. So for my wife and I, that was 1,600 pesos. If you know anything about converting money in the Philippines, I would suggest bringing crisp, clean, new $100 bills. At least one. I don't know, I didn't even try at the airport, but a lot of the exchange places don't want old bills, they don't want marked up bills, they don't want damaged bills, and they don't really like exchanging lower denominations, so 20s, and forget exchanging single dollar bills. So my suggestion is just go ahead and bite the bullet and exchange $100 at the airport, unless you have pesos with you. I wouldn't exchange any more than that. Their exchange rate is not the best at the airport, never is. So if you have other cash, I would save that. You can go to one of those exchange places, look around, and so that's basically what you're going to do. You're going to do the swab test. They'll walk you through it, and then you should have set up with your hotel. All right, we're back, and the angle has changed. Phone went dead. It's been a long-winded video. I'm going to wrap it up, but basically your next or your final step, go through all of that. Then you should set up with your hotel, should have set it up ahead of time, how you're gonna get there. Most of them offer some way that they will pick you up. Some of them charge. Some of them it's complimentary. Set it up and then talk to the people there. They were very helpful. They actually contacted our hotel and told them we were ready to be picked up. There was no, I mean, it was really, once you got to Cebu, it was just follow the instructions. Don't argue, don't try to, just follow the instructions. They know the protocols. Everything was good. I have all my documentation, but like I said, there was no problem once I reached Cebu. The biggest part is going to be ticketing and your airline. Others have said Singapore Airlines seems to have allowed, multiple, so they're probably pretty aware. But even EVA, there was no problem once the little issue of miscommunication between the ticketing agent and myself about vaccination and the protocol if you're unvaccinated. So that's pretty much it. These will change, but it is possible to fly as an unvaccinated foreign national, possible to enter the Philippines. So I hope that helps someone. And if there's any further questions, I think I've hopefully answered them all, but just leave a comment, and thank you.